The agriculture sector expanded, the fisheries subsector broke new waters, and revised policies and interventions all wove a story of establishing new frontiers. I'm Amanda Faye Clark, and this is the Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources and Cooperatives Year in Review. A trip to the United Kingdom culminated in some major wins for the banana industry. Led by the Prime Minister Honorable Alan Chasney and Agriculture Minister Honorable Ezekiel Joseph, key leaders of the subsector ventured on a week-long market access mission aimed at forging new partnerships and broadening Saint Lucia's market share for the crop. Agriculture leaders were ecstatic with the confirmation that our bananas had captured the interest of both London-based supermarket chains such as Waitrose and Sainsbury and the French market.
What we wanted to achieve during that mission was to get the context and the constraints and challenges faced by those stakeholders on receipt of our bananas, and to as well give some idea of what the St. Lucian context is, what our farmers have to deal with on ground, and what we do to produce quality bananas.
The newly established trading plan for bananas exports include provisions for branding, which is a key element in ensuring a sustainable presence of our bananas in these new territories, and is also seen as a huge gain for farming constituents, as under these new arrangements, an avenue has opened up to allow export of other crops.
As a government and as institutions, we have the responsibility to provide that type of support, and we have been engaging Winfresh as to what are the possibilities, and that's why we felt it was important to go up to the UK to at least interact as a government under the leadership of the Prime Minister as a government, and that's giving a clear indication as to the interests of the government.
Meanwhile, amidst ongoing support and cooperation from the government and people of Taiwan to sustain growth within the agriculture sector, Agriculture Minister Honorable Ezekiel Joseph called on the island's lead exporter to take the business of exporting Saint Lucian bananas seriously and to match the efforts of the ministry in improving international market share with the same vigor.
We have a challenge. The challenge is that the market under the leadership of Winfresh is not giving the type of support that we believe they can give. And as a government, we have met with Winfresh, the Prime Minister, along with the leadership of the Ministry of Agriculture, met with the leadership of Winfresh, and the Prime Minister clearly articulated his concerns as a Prime Minister and as the Minister of Finance as to the support that we are getting from Winfresh. So much so, like you know, Mr. Ambassador, we took a team up to England to meet with the stakeholders in England and to speak with them and to decide as to get a first-hand appreciation as to what the challenges are and how we can overcome the challenges. Coming from that meeting, again, we met with Winfresh, and in fact, I was discussing with PS. We wrote to Winfresh informing them that as a government, and I want to make it clear, as a government, we're not going to sit back and allow them to stifle our efforts as it pertains to exporting bananas to the UK market.
Another feather was placed in the cap of our agriculture leaders and by extension Saint Lucia, as it became known that the strategic approach taken by the Agriculture Ministry to expand its markets and banana production is being viewed as a model which can be replicated in other Windward Island states successfully.
What we are doing in St. Lucia is being recognized by the other OECS countries, in fact by the other Windward Island countries. And I can say here openly and can be on the record that the Minister of St. Vincent, the Minister of Agriculture of St. Vincent, called me, and he was mandated by his banana farmers to speak to me as Minister and to speak to us in St. Lucia, to give them the support in St. Vincent for them to now get back on the international market. And I've been saying so to Winfresh that if they cannot, at this point in time, right, accommodate St. Lucia, when St. Vincent and Dominica get back into production, what's going to happen? So I want to make it clear that the time has come for us to seriously review what's happening at Winfresh and what, of course, are the problems.
Healthy, reliable and safe agriculture production and products of the soil have become an agenda item for strategic review and intervention in 2019. The Banana Production and Improvement Project, otherwise called the BPIP, and the Taiwan International Cooperation and Development Fund, the ICDF, jointly distributed soil testing kits to the extension officers attached to the project, a move which enabled them to conduct instantaneous soil testing on the field. The distribution of reagents marked a new era in the implementation of sustainable crop production strategies to ensure healthy, viable crops, and extension of the Agriculture Ministry's mandate to bring about nutrition and food security.
The reason why we can increase or encourage each of the farmers, you can bring your soil sample that we can analyze to diagnostic your soil fertility, and we can rationalize application right fertilizer to your farm.
Head of the Research and Development Division, Hannah Romain, affirmed that soil health is inextricably linked to the wellness of a people, and as such, the work undertaken by her division is also critical in the socio-economic development of St. Lucia.
These materials or reagents will go very far towards assisting us in meeting our work program, the requirements of the work program. On a daily basis, our technicians are out there to ensure that the foods that are grown out there, that the soil status, the soil health, the nutritional status of the soil is in the ideal condition for the successful growth of a crop. We've been working over the years tirelessly to improve on the production of our foods, and today we see that this step that we've taken is to ensure that our labs are properly equipped and that our technicians have the ideal reagents required to ensure that we are able to conduct proper diagnosis of our soil status.
The Banana Protection and Improvement Project have continued to provide guidance, support, training and intervention in not only the banana subsector, but has also been keen on helping agricultural officials and extension officers realize expansion in crop production. Apart from earmarking 300 acres of land to come into new banana production, the entity is now finalizing a campaign on the invasive TR4 banana disease. The launch of the Fruit and Vegetable Import Substitution Program, or the 7 Crops Initiative, is seen as a timely strategy in making a dent on the National Food Import Bill. The objective of the program is to reduce the importation of 7 crops by increasing local production and consumption.
We have gotten support from the government of Taiwan, and we are very grateful for the support, both technical and financial support. And we have developed a free program. We have identified the farmers already. We have trained extension officers. We have trained the farmers. And now we are now putting down some new technology as we put into greenhouse, so we can demonstrate to the farmers how we can, be able to cultivate. During the period it is most needed, and that's the rainy period, which of course traditionally is from July to December.
The ongoing farmers markets, which started in September, embraces the ministry's slogan, "Eat Fresh St. Lucia's Best," and is focused on generating interest in the main on the 7 targeted crops under this project, namely pineapples, cabbages, sweet peppers, tomatoes, lettuce, watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew. It forms part of the Fruit and Vegetable Import Substitution Project, or the 7 Crops Project, which directs attention on meeting the general population at their point of need, apprising consumers of the latest developments within the agri-food sector, farming trends, and food safety, providing an outlet where farmers get an opportunity to showcase their produce, and encouraging the consumption of local crops.
These crops are crops that farmers have been producing for a long time in St. Lucia, and the farmers have the technical savvy of production of these crops. So it's crops that we have deemed important, traditional crops, if you will, and also crops that they have the ability to produce However, right now we do have issues that all of these crops, we don't have full-time production, as in the consistency in supply is an issue, where we have times of the year, due to our open field agriculture and also the different methods used by the farmers, production is in short supply.
A momentous turn for the development of the agriculture sector was documented as agriculture leaders, stakeholders and the faculty of the Division of Agriculture of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College met for a 2-day consultation to revise the training curriculum for agriculture students from the next academic year.
This engagement is important simply because you do need skilled professionals in the agriculture sector. And who best to provide those skills than the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, our homegrown college. Yes, we do get people who come back with degrees, but generally most of our staff, probably in the extension division, do graduate from Sir Arthur Lewis Community College with their either associate's degrees or diplomas or certificates. In the sector too, you have farmers who do also want to get training. So it is important that the college understands, what are the needs of the agriculture sector.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Barrymore Felicia, said the ministry remains committed to developing a cadre of well-rounded agriculture professionals, and as such, is playing its part in overseeing the modification of the island's agriculture education, ensuring that it is innovative, responsive, and relevant to the complex and ever-changing work environment. Conditions, he insists, are critical to the effectiveness of all institutions that contribute to the agriculture sector.
To make the education system responsive requires developing and implementing curriculum and teaching programs that are relevant to the production needs and employment demands of the agricultural sector. The drivers for this reform are that graduates, we often hear graduates are not meeting the expectation and needs of the labor market. Find that graduates, they are not finding employment. And there are stakeholders who report dissatisfaction with the performance of those graduates. So in essence, we are looking for quality professionals.
Saint Lucia grew closer to introducing more advanced ICT technology to the agriculture industry. Under a project named Advancing ICTs for Climate Smart Agriculture Practices, the Caribbean Research and Development Institute, CARDI, hosted a one-day workshop to discuss on ICT interventions for the sector. The workshop, which got the support from the Agriculture Ministry and technical partners such as the OECS Commission and IECA, brought together industry stakeholders and students. The activity focused on market intelligence as a strategy to better manage climatic variability and underscored the value of using modern ICT in bolstering economic activity, crop production, and information sharing with the sector.
We hope that this project would be the beginning of more to come. We are hoping that more funding can come as well so that we can assist the farmers. But as it is right now, it is all covered by the CARICOM-Japan cooperation, friendly overseas cooperation. And we must say thank you to them for the sponsorship and the drive to recognize a need for such a project and to use St. Lucia as the pilot country to have such a project running for the OECS.
Minister for Agriculture Honorable Ezekiel Joseph's vision is for an overturn in stakeholder use and willingness to adopt ICT in agriculture, saying that it would be encouraged as it does give a platform for agriculture constituents to collaborate, attain up-to-date market information, and for finding solutions to ongoing threats to our agriculture economy.
The whole aspect of information to assist us, the farmers, in production scheduling. So at least when we are in the position to market our products, we have the market for it. Because we need everyone to come on board to give support to this initiative. And I'm sure we all know the crops that we have targeted in the first instance. But for us to be able to accomplish that objective, there are a number of things that we need to do. Of course, we start today with the whole aspect of technology and looking at production scheduling, which is critical for us to accomplish our objectives.
And speaking of Cardi, the Institute's hosting of Cardi Week placed the spotlight on good agricultural practices, the milestones gained on the ground in Saint Lucia over its 60-year existence, especially in revamping the coconut and cocoa subsector, and showcasing the work and products of the farmers and agri-entrepreneurs they interface with. Some key public engagement activities included the public speaking competition for students of the Division of Agriculture of the South Louis Community College, a research symposium, and the Cardi Fair held on the grounds of the Institute. In a bid to bolster more activity within the apiculture industry, agriculture leaders have forged an alliance with the government and people of the Republic of Argentina, a country known to strategically advance its agriculture and farming sector to meet new global standards. In applauding the ongoing efforts to improve the agriculture economy, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Barrymore Felicia, said he wanted to ensure the first phase of the project, AP-Caribe, is successful, and as such has called on apiculture stakeholders to be open to the exchange and dialogue necessary to augment the performance of the subsector.
One concern for us, of course, is the skill set and capacity to deal with technical assistance within the ministry and on ground. So that is an area that we need to develop, an area we need to look at. Recently, during my visit to Costa Rica, there were discussions to explore how technical assistance with an institution called CATIE, to see how that can be explored to strengthen especially our extension services. So that is an area of concern for us, and we're looking to see how we can strengthen support to our apiculturists, farmers and fishers generally through the ministry. Having said so, we look forward to the technical mission. The fact-finding mission will take place in December, and to support that mission, to provide the documentation, to provide the verbal and written information required for a proper assessment of the apiculture industry in Saint Lucia so that we could move forward.
His Excellency Gustavo Martinez Pandiani, Ambassador of the Argentine Republic to Barbados and the OECS, made a courtesy call to the Agriculture Ministry to engage key apiculture stakeholders, including the Inter-American Institute of Cooperation on Agriculture, IECA, and key ministry personnel in a consultation to identify areas of action to advance the apiculture industry.
We identify apiculture as one of the priorities. The intention of this program is not only to be of technical efficient in terms of the production of the honey, but also on the commercialization side of it, even the marketing side of it. Because sometimes we realize in the Caribbean, you have the capabilities of producing good honey, but sometimes the main obstacle is how to sell it, how to prepare yourselves to even export it. And taking into account the very heavy import bill you have in Saint Lucia and many other countries in the Caribbean, I think it would be a great initiative for the government itself to lower that import bill by start exporting and stop importing honey.
IECA and the Argentine government have been working over several months to develop areas of mutual collaboration. AP-Caribe was finally launched in early December. A move to address the critical concern of the citrus subsector resulted in the training of research and development technicians of the Ministry of Agriculture, local citrus farmers and horticulturists. Wang Long Beng, the yellow dragon disease or citrus greening disease as it's being called in Saint Lucia, is one of the most serious citrus plant diseases, raging havoc on the citrus industries of the world. For local research and development officials, their focus was on equipping citrus stakeholders with the technical skills to easily identify and manage the effect of the disease. A challenge was made to all certified trainees to immediately employ the strategies learned in the daily management of their farms and businesses. Discussions began on an improved action plan to further efforts on agritourism in Saint Lucia, a move both agriculture and tourism officials attest is a timely undertaking, as leaders in the two industries identified areas where they can partner to bolster increased productivity, sustainability, and overall economic performance of both sectors. The Agritourism Agenda Setting meeting brought together key officers of the Ministries of Agriculture and Tourism, local stakeholders including CODI and the SLHDA, and regional agriculture development organizations such as ICA and the OECS, whose mission is to oversee the diversification of agriculture economies. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Barrymore Felicia, said the overall stance of agriculture leaders is a move for diversification of our agriculture economy, thus creating niche products which support and complement our tourism brand.
Policy must therefore focus on twinning, strengthening, and exploring linkages in traditional and non-traditional areas. Our policy will focus on collaborations and activities and will include enhancement of visitor experiences so that they can enjoy, relax, spend time and money for joyfulness and happiness, in addition to visiting agricultural areas, doing agricultural related activities such as harvesting, planting, fishing and cooking, while we in St. Lucia ensure that they do this in a safe and secure environment.
It is expected that the revised policies for streamlining agritourism initiatives will consider building on the opportunities already available through ongoing biodiversity and climate resilient projects, creating a truly meaningful, culturally appropriate, and dynamic St. Lucian experience. Agro-processing remained a top priority area for development within the local agriculture economy, as agriculture leaders paved the way forward for increased productivity within the sector. Training in food safety and having a modern facility which is up to international food safety standards are among the integral interventions in realizing the expansion of the subsector.
When you change a rural woman's life, you are changing the family and you are changing the community in which they belong. And as I said, without money, money will change the life of women. This will bring about growth. There are many who drop out because this had not happened. But now, if they are supposed to be here, they'll come.
Prime Minister and Parliamentary Representative for Meagood South, Honorable Alan Chasney, who also hold the portfolios of economic growth and job creation, said he is elated that his constituents have continued to take the initiative to improve their product offerings. A mindset, he explained, demonstrates the type of dedication needed to create an authentic St. Lucian brand.
So my government is not coming in here with a piecemeal approach to this problem. So one is the continual training programs to assist the women and other persons involved in developing small companies. The second one is to create an opportunity here to be able to master that art of processing, not only in terms of quality, but also in terms of cost.
Agricultural officials, the diplomatic corps and residents all gathered to witness the handover of the Alger agro-processing facility and the cocoa processing plant to multi-million-dollar investments by the government of St. Lucia and the European Union. The delivery of state-of-the-art HACCP-compliant facilities to the people of Meagood North and South does not only add value to their livelihoods, but also ensures that the processing of our goods adhere to the latest international food safety standards.
We believe as a government that agro-processing is critical because we are very seasonal in our production pattern. When we have mangoes, we have too many mangoes, it's going to waste. When you have citrus, we have too many citrus, is going to waste.
Representative of the European Union to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean states, Mr. Bogdan Stefanescu, in applauding the diligence of the island's agriculture leaders, said St. Lucia has made good on its part of the bilateral agreement, which included placing sharp focus and strategic actions on growing cottage industries.
EU has supported the Angers processing facility in this spirit, together with 2 other agro-processing facilities on this island. And I'm proud that the European Union has contributed to the development of this amenity by allocation of the necessary budget for its refurbishment and equipment. The BUMP program has also targeted the banana competitiveness and contributed in the rebound of the banana export business. I was pleasantly surprised to hear that thanks to the combined efforts of the Ministry of Agriculture and its development partners, St. Lucia has boosted earlier than expected its banana exports, while at the same time reaching new destinations on the European continent, such as the French market.
Thus far, Saint Lucia has benefited from an injection of 10 million euros for stimulation and expansion of agro-processing. Saint Lucia's World Food Day festivities for 2019 kicked off with the hosting of the annual World Food Day Fair at the VG Playing Field. Highlighting the array of local agricultural products and services, the fair saluted the perseverance of agri-entrepreneurs in the agro-processing subsector.
Over the past 40 years, we can boast of many successes in areas like crop production, livestock production, the fishery subsector, and like Mr. Sidney said, agro-processing. We can speak of successes in how we manage our natural resources, how we implement our youth in agricultural program, and of course, we are still working with our youth as it pertains to our youth in agricultural program.
World Food Day 2019 was held under the theme, Our Actions Are Our Future, #Healthy Diets for a Zero Hunger World. Don't Pack a Pest was a campaign unveiled to bring about greater awareness on protecting our borders against pests and other invasive species that could pose a threat to our unique agricultural biodiversity.
This campaign can help us with educating towards building individual and collective responsibility on pests and invasive species entry prevention. Agriculture contributes significantly to the growth of the economy. More so, Saint Lucia is rich in biodiversity, and many of its species are found to be unique to the island.
A tour to the National Diagnostic Facility reconfirmed an ongoing partnership with Saint Lucia and the European Union in modernizing the sector to meet the demands of the country's growing agriculture economy. EU Director General of Development Cooperation in Brussels, Mr. Stefano Manservisi, applauded the achievements realized in the island's agriculture development over the years, saying the EU remains committed to this region, which serves as a strategic linkage to solid value.
Today, in reality, through our projects, we aim at supporting the capacity, the analysis, the research, to address all what are the new barriers to trade and to the improvement of the quality. Today, international trade and agricultural production at large are very much based on quality, and therefore I think that the role of this center is crucial in order to make accessible a service to everybody, and in particular to the new entrepreneur in agriculture. I mean, young people, youth, which is attracted by this sector.
The ministry plans to make good on its promise to constituents of the agri-food sector to put in place infrastructure and necessary technology locally to address the myriad of concerns and interests in the food production cycle.
Overarching framework, what we want to achieve as a Department of Agriculture, we want to ensure that our borders are safe. We want to ensure that agriculture, there's sustainability in agriculture, in production, in yields. So we are looking to this facility to be a premier facility, a facility that will leverage Saint Lucia and put Saint Lucia on the map as it relates to sanitary and phytosanitary certification, pest and disease management, especially surveillance, prevention, detection, and helping us help our farmers, our fishers, our livestock folks build confidence in the system.
The Agriculture Ministry joined the rest of the world in drawing awareness to food safety issues in the inaugural observance of World Food Safety Day. For the Agriculture Ministry, ensuring our country's food safety is of utmost importance as we realize how food safety concerns can impact the island's socio-economic development, but more precisely, how relevant food safety policies are to the tourism, health, trade, and our food supply chain.
The ministry, through its marketing unit and the Extension and Advisory Services unit, has embarked on a certification program for farmers. This is done in collaboration with private sector, example Marcy Stores, including the restructured new marketing entity. This program ensures that farmers are trained in good agricultural practices, thereby guaranteeing quality and safety of food supplies on the market.
Armed with the understanding that food safety is key to achieving several UN Sustainable Development Goals and is a shared responsibility between governments, producers and consumers, the marketing unit of the Ministry of Agriculture commenced food safety training for stakeholders. Plans to establish a market information system finally came to fruition thanks to the unfailing efforts of the marketing unit.
One of the key activities for this year to ensure that the farming community always knows what's going on is to revitalize that system. So we have revitalized that system where we have been collecting information weekly from the vendors market in Castries, and we have also been collecting information from the wholesalers, that's the supermarkets, and also from the hotels. And that information we publish weekly.
After hurricane, sustaining life and health is most important. We should take heed. A suite of 12 sector-specific hurricane tips were developed to address the unique needs of each agriculture subsector. This formed part of a revised communications direction for the Agriculture Ministry. The hurricane advisories detailed the necessary actions to be taken before, during, and after a hurricane or tropical storm. Agriculture Minister Honorable Ezekiel Joseph, in a statement of support for agriculture and farming constituents, said he was relieved and happy that St. Lucia was spared the adverse impact of Tropical Storm Dorian. For farmers in particular, he explained, the small stroke of relief did buy some time to augment hurricane and tropical storm preparations and to fine-tune strategies to protect agri-based livelihoods for the remainder of the hurricane season.
Coming out of the experience last year, tropical storm, good. I'm sure farmers would have realized that as a ministry we started with the support of the government of Taiwan, a tree planting program to create that windbreak in areas that we can establish these windbreaks, and we are using tree crops that are what you call economic value, and not the forest crops that after you still have to come back and cut it. So that program is going on well, and I'm sure, like we have in the past and will continue to prepare ourselves as far as mitigating against flooding, doing the necessary drainage works, especially the major drainage outlets on farms and in areas where that is needed.
The Agriculture Ministry continues to work on putting an insurance scheme in place, which will provide an additional layer of protection for agri-livelihoods.
The whole aspect of insurance plays a critical role, and we cannot overemphasize the need for insurance. At a meeting on Thursday last week with Marcy, which was a very good meeting, when I had the opportunity to discuss and to encourage the farmers to look at insurance, I was told that there seems to be some review of the policy, which we believe is good in the sense that they need to look at how they can reduce on the trigger, because the trigger is 65 miles per hour, and 65 miles per hour is high, and when we experienced last year, we did not experience 65 miles per hour. But farmers will have to understand, if there's any reduction in the trigger, there will be an increase in the premium. But it's something that we have to continue discussing with the respective insurance companies and see what are the possibilities and how we can at least provide that level of safety net, because, like I said, whilst the insurance can never give you 100% of what you lost, but with government support and insurance, it can assist our farmers in getting back on their feet as quickly as possible.
Another welcome project in support of the industry came in the form of CAF, the Climate Adaptation Financial Facility, which makes provisions and financing available for investments and activities that create, strengthen project assets and livelihoods, and ultimately build resilience to adapt to climate-related impacts. 2 stakeholder consultations were hosted to address the CAF with an agricultural bias and to educate the agrarian community of the accessibility of the soft loaner facility. Organizers also obtained vital information that can serve as a catalyst in enhancing the CAF to better meet the needs of the sector. The Veterinary and Livestock Services Division began a series of public awareness interventions this year after an alarm was sounded on the re-emergence of the tropical born tick or the amblyomma tick in St. Lucia in late 2018. This came approximately 20 years after Saint Lucia was part of the Caribbean Amblyoma Program, the CAP, a rigorous intervention which heavily emphasized amblyoma tick surveillance and the use of a strong pesticide to ensure its eradication. The full public awareness and media outreach strategy is set to be initiated in 2020 and will work to ensure the Saint Lucia livestock farming and rural community in particular receive timely information and education on the amblyoma tick infestation, control and surveillance measures, and discourse on what importance it is to the sustainability of the subsector, human health, and the agricultural economy. Regional statistical experts met in Saint Lucia to discuss on the enhancement of institutional capacity in statistical data collection and analysis within the agriculture sector. Based on an assessment conducted in 2018, strategic planning in agriculture has been identified as one of the major challenges of the OECS member states. Consequently, the OECS Commission launched the project Strategic Plan for Agricultural and Rural Statistics (SPARS) and questionnaire design in the OECS member states, with the support of the FAO, in which the creation of a common agriculture module for the population and housing census will assist the goal of facilitating agricultural strategic planning through the improvement of data collection, compilation, and dissemination methods. The National Land Bank project made headway on key project components this year. To date, the project has established a pilot land bank in Peluge, Miku, developed a National Land Bank information system to facilitate proper management of the land bank, and finalized a communication strategy to inform the public about the initiative. Amendments to the animal and plant health bills were tabled, making documents reflective of the changes within these two sectors.
In terms of sanitary and phytosanitary certification, legislation and regulation, the department has been working on reviewing the plant health bill and the animal health bill. The plant health bill to include items on plant and disease management, quarantine facilities, etc. Animal health bill, the governance structure, animal health, pest and disease management likewise, and also quarantine services. This is to ensure that our borders are safe. We can prevent the import of pests and diseases that will be harmful to the agricultural sector. Likewise, to ensure that we don't export any of those unsavory diseases to other countries.
Plans to fine-tune the management and operating systems of the Saint Lucia Marketing Board and the Saint Lucia Fish Marketing Corporation moved some steps further this year.
In terms of the Saint Lucia Marketing Board and its restructuring, we are within the period of interim operations. This has been approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. We hired a restructuring consultant who has prepared a business plan. Presently, the business plan is being laid before Cabinet for consideration of the contents therein. After Cabinet has approved, then we move forward with the plan to implement the new marketing entity, name, company, and associated articles.
The government of Saint Lucia, through the Department of Fisheries, have actively worked throughout the year on protecting its marine resources and to improve the sustainability of the fisheries sector. The country is participating in a range of projects related to climate change adaptation, governance and combating illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, fisherfolk empowerment and education, and an improved fisheries policy. In 2019, Saint Lucia embarked upon an initiative in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization to develop a formal national policy on fisheries.
We have had an agriculture policy. We have also had a food and nutrition policy that really speaks to how we should move forward in terms of the development of the agriculture sector that includes fisheries. And the agricultural policy speaks to food security, it speaks to sustainability, it speaks to pollution reduction, it speaks to a lot of the legal aspects in relation to whether it be land management, ocean management, and a whole lot more. So this fisheries policy is not being developed in isolation of work that has been undertaken in the past.
Fisheries and Aquaculture Officer of the FAO, Dr. Yvette Dewadi, said her organizations remained committed to assisting governments in implementing the best strategies for securing fisheries livelihoods, and thus applauded the initiative of St. Lucia's fisheries leaders in developing a policy document that is unique and representative of the reality of the local fisheries subsector.
This morning we were reviewing an important document which is now in force in St. Lucia, the SASAP, the Sectoral Adaptation to Climate Change and Action Plan. This workshop has enabled to see the limitations that exist in the SASAP with the lenses that we have, critical lenses, but constructive lenses that we have. We realize that the SASAP document has some limitations, and this policy actually will benefit these gaps analysis to make it an instrument which is very useful to the country.
The Department of Fisheries, in commemoration of Caribbean Fisherfolk Day, commonly referred to as Fishermen's Feast, hosted a Fishers Clinic under the theme Gender Equity and Ocean Health, supporting access to markets for small-scale fishers. The event was jointly hosted by the Castries Fishers Cooperative, A1 Island Marine Supplies Incorporated, and KP Marine Supplies. The Fishers Clinic targeted fisherfolk and gave opportunity for them to gain information on the economic and safety benefits of proper outboard engine maintenance. The activity also promoted health and wellness screenings, tips to maintain fish quality, hygiene and sanitary practices, and to reduce marine pollution, and information to fisherfolk. Milestones were realized under the Integrating Water, Land and Ecosystems Management in the Caribbean Small Island Developing States Project, or the IWECO project. The 5-year regional project builds upon the work of previous initiatives to address water, land and biodiversity resource management, as well as climate change. IWECO's objective is to contribute to the preservation of Caribbean ecosystems that are of global significance and to the sustainability of livelihoods. Here in St. Lucia, the IWECO project allows the application of existing proven technologies and approaches best suited for small island developing states, and will work to improve the management of fresh and coastal water resources, land resources and forests. One such initiative under the project is currently underway in Fort Saint-Jacques-Soufrière.
The project really came about to address what we call the poor biophysical conditions of the Soufrière watershed, meaning the devastation in terms of massive soil erosion, massive soil loss, siltation of rivers. So these are the poor biophysical conditions caused indirectly by poor land management, unsustainable land management in terms of that watershed. And it really involves stabilization of degraded areas, riverbanks, etc. We currently have 17 persons employed, and some of these persons are involved in the production of plants at our nursery, because we have a nursery where we produce tree crops and forestries, where we provide those trees to the farmers free of charge. We also do what we call farm assessments. So we do not just go and walk to a farm or farmer's holding and say, we plant in mahogany, we plant in mango, we plant in mahogany, coconuts, etc. We do what we call a farm assessment. So we actually go on the farm, we take the GPS position, we look at the farm activities happening, we look at some of the issues with regards to land management, soil erosion, etc. And we come with a recommendation and a plan for restoration, etc. So we've done almost 100 farms since the start of the project.
Providing improved access to quality pipe-borne water to all St. Lucians remained a priority agenda item for the Agriculture Ministry. Honorable Ezekiel Joseph and a delegation comprising WASCO lead officers and key personnel of the Departments of Agriculture, Forestry and Natural Resources sought an update on the work being undertaken on the Dennery North Redevelopment Project. Set to be commissioned by mid-January of 2020, Phase 2 is nearly done, having now installed a 100,000-gallon water tank in Dennery Riviere. Plans to install 2 other water storage tanks with the same capacity are running on schedule and will bring the total count of storage tanks to the area to 7.
Now, this is good in that the more capacity you have to store water, it's better for the residents, particularly during the hurricane season or during heavy rainfall. You would have that capacity. As you're aware, the Dennery North area has suffered the most, in terms of the number of years, 60 years, I believe, these people have suffered. And we've made a commitment to redevelop this area, the water infrastructure in this area, so that the people could obtain good quality and well-treated water.
Agriculture Minister Honorable Ezekiel Joseph said his government is elated with the progress of work for the Dennery North constituency, ending decades-long suffering from an inconsistent and inadequate supply of fresh, quality pipe-borne water.
Based on the presentation that we received and the tour that I have been involved with, looking at the respective infrastructure development on the ground, we are very pleased as a ministry that the work is going as planned. We have been informed that we are on target as it pertains to our deliverables and of course within budget. And I'm sure by January next year, the entire valley will be benefiting from a reliable, good quality supply of water, and that's critical.
The much anticipated restoration work and upgrades to the John Compton Dam picked up momentum despite some setbacks in 2019. Component 1 consisted of the preparation of the disposal area for the sediments and will allow for a seamless transition onto the second component, which will see the dredging of the reservoir through a pipeline to the disposal area. A ceremony to mark the start of a new collaboration between the Water and Sewage Company and the main water company in Cuba, Cuba Hydraulica, culminated with the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the two firms.
The areas of cooperation will include, but not limited to, 1, the provision of technical assistance to WASCO, training and capacity building, and exchange of knowledge and information between the parties. It will also address a reduction of non-revenue water with a focus on water supply systems in the northern part of St. Lucia. Leak detection and water line repairs are also included in that memorandum of understanding. Maintenance and repair of equipment used in water and wastewater services systems.
A newly signed memorandum of understanding will guide the way ahead for improved and sustainable forestry and wildlife conservation in St. Lucia. The government of St. Lucia and the Association for Conservation of Threatened Parrots, the ACTP, met to formally recognize the agreements made to augment infrastructure and services of the Gabriel Charles Forestry Complex and to preserve St. Lucia's national bird, the Amazona versicolor. The overarching expectation is that by the end of the agreement period, St. Lucia would be outfitted with a refurbished Gabriel Charles Forestry Complex, which will boast a state-of-the-art wildlife conservation and education center. The new Memorandum of Understanding does include components for the operations and funding of that center.
We can see that we are well on our way as it pertains to finalizing the project. We are now signing a new agreement as it pertains to how we operationalize the project, how we equip the project, and how we staff the project. And ACP has agreed to give grant funding to that effect for at least for 1 year. So it will be their responsibility to manage it with, of course, when I say manage it, to give us support in managing it by training our staff both in St. Lucia, and of course we have right now two St. Lucians in Germany being trained by ACTP to assist us in managing the facility.
Honorable Ezekiel Joseph also spoke out on a matter which met much criticism in the public domain, that of the breeding loan agreement with the Association for the Conservation of Threatened Parrots, the ACTP. He explained the details of the partnership, which has been in place since 2009.
One would appreciate that this is not a new initiative. This is an initiative that started since 2009, where the government of St. Lucia at that time agreed to transfer birds that are already outside of St. Lucia. It was not new birds that we sent out, birds that are already outside of St. Lucia at a zoo somewhere in the UK to Germany, so at least we can have this breeding loan agreement where we can continue to protect our farmers. Out there in the wild, what we expect is far from the truth. And I'm agreeing that there's need for us to do a census, and I'm hoping that, Martin, that ACTP can give us some support in doing the census.
Scientific Director of the Association for the Conservation of Threatened Parrots, Cromwell Purchase, said St. Lucia needed to act in a timely fashion to safeguard the St. Lucian parrot. There is a need to take definite steps in order to build and sustain the parrot population.
The research that we've been doing, going out into the into the forests and the habitat of the St. Lucia parrot has been remarkable. The information that we have uncovered has shown that certain historical data is now outdated, and we need to do some more research in order to ensure that we can keep the population rising. From the research that we did, nest collection, nest monitoring, we noticed that there were predators that were causing major issues. So of 48 nests that we monitored, 40 of them were active, and out of those 40 active nests, 7 of them contained opossums, a predator for chicks. So we now realize that the predation of the chicks is a lot higher than was expected. Then the boa constrictors, we also had a nest with a boa constrictor in it with 2 dead chicks. And this is an indication that the species is actually under quite a bit of predation.
Plans to facilitate the breeding loan agreement went on as directed by the Honourable Minister in his quest to be proactive.
What we're realizing is that, unfortunately, the birds that have been used in the project is not redounding to our benefit. We can't have a breeding loan agreement and we're not seeing progress as far as production is concerned. We're not seeing baby chicks. So we think the time has come for us to revisit this agreement. We think the time has come for us to introduce new breeding stock into the agreement, because the reality is, if you look at what happened in Dominica last year with Maria or year before, we can lose all of our parrots over one day because of climate change. And we have had the experience in Dominica. So we need to welcome the initiative that has been given to us and the support that has been given to us, because it's been done free of charge. All the financing for it has been done by ACTP, and for us now is to capitalize on it, to make sure that whatever we are doing, we redound to the benefit of our parrots.
A meeting of the principal officers implementing a soil facility project in St. Lucia met to revise plans to ensure the final leg of work is completed to satisfaction. The delegation, comprising the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Morocco to St. Lucia, His Excellency Abderrahim Kadmiri, and the technical team from the Department of Agriculture, headed by the Honourable Minister, met to review the plan of action for the completion phase of the Moroccan soil fertility project, all with the expectation of improving soil health conditions and boosting agriculture production efforts in St. Lucia. Minister for Agriculture Honorable Ezekiel Joseph said by fine-tuning the ongoing work under the soil fertility project, the final phase will ensure that St. Lucia makes the most use of not only technology transfer and application techniques, but ultimately impact the overall performance of the agriculture economy.
What we are getting from the farmers is that there's need for us to do the analysis as far as the soil's conditions are concerned, and to know exactly what type of interventions that we can do based on the results of this analysis.
The Moroccan Soil Fertility Project was extended for another year, with a new end date of March 2021 being agreed upon. Leaders at the Water Resources Management Agency, the WRMA, held a week-long itinerary of activities to place the spotlight on the island's water resources, ahead of the official date of the observance of World Water Day. Every year, March 22 is marked as the day to focus attention on the importance of freshwater systems to societies and to advocate for sustainable management of freshwater resources. The approach taken for St. Lucia's observance of World Food Day was timely, as it took place at a time of year when our environment was most prone to prolonged dry spells, while at the same time, communities were in the process of revising the disaster response mechanisms to put in place for the hurricane season. The first education and outreach activities for students took place at the Bexor Primary School and the Babonneau Secondary School.
We plan to visit as many schools as possible, and actually tomorrow we'll be going to Babonneau Secondary School, and on Friday we're having a fair actually going to be held in Soufrière at the waterfront in Soufrière, so all schools will be invited and so on. And Wednesday and Thursday we're going to have a school fair as well in a college where schools will be coming to visit, and we'll be demonstrating our various equipment and what do we do at the Water Management Agency and the importance of water and water conservation for the general public and for the future of Saint Lucia.
This year's theme for World Water Day was Leaving No One Behind, a message the Water and Resources Management Agency hoped would raise awareness that indeed water is a human right, but also greater management and intervention in securing water resources is equally important in ensuring Saint Lucia's socio-economic development. A rainwater harvesting workshop targeted contractors and plumbers island-wide as the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, the DVRP, continued to focus on building resilience in light of climate change. One of the critical areas being given attention by the government of St. Lucia through the DVRP is the water sector by addressing climate-resilient rehabilitation of the country's water supply infrastructure. This includes the development of the millet water intake within the John Compton Dam raw water supply system and the procurement and installation of meters for WASCO's non-revenue water program. The objective of the workshop was to equip these practitioners in the proper design, installation and maintenance of rainwater harvesting systems. It is hoped that this first cohort will be ambassadors for the program and transfer the knowledge within their communities. The Department of Cooperatives breathed new life with the appointment of a new Registrar of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. During the year 2019, the department completed the collaboration with Jeff and Development Cooperators Incorporated, a Carib-Day accredited training program for leaders and employees of producer and service cooperatives under the project, connecting cooperatives to the fisheries sector and commencing the formation stages of building climate change resilience in the fishing sector.
The ratios speak to the whole issue of the performance in sales turnover, profitability, what we call the stewardship of the board of directors, of the committees, in giving the quality service that is supposed to give to the membership by their being elected to serve.
Although the review of the status of operations and laws of the Friendly Societies Act has been moved to 2020, the preparation and completion of a database of these societies is almost ready. The Cooperative Societies Bill is now in its final stages and is expected to be presented to the Agriculture Minister within the first quarter of 2020. The bill will emphasize compliance with pertinent changes in the financial environment. Its enactment will usher in greater use of technology in strengthening wealth creation. The new legislative and regulatory framework will be more conducive to exploring new initiatives, new products, and new business beyond traditional primary level areas of operations, and will empower current and future societies to step outside the box to create new business opportunities. The department has also finalized the preparation of a financial database of producer and service cooperatives. This database is indicating that presently 83% of societies have presented audited financial statements to their membership for the year 2019. It will also facilitate the production of timely statistical status reports on the sector. The department is embarking on the production of an annual status report of the movement early next year. 2019 was a year of massive expansion for the agriculture sector, and as much as the industry faced challenges, it has documented many successes in the implementation of activities on the 2019 work plan, which contributes to the government of St. Lucia's goal of addressing major long-term trends and challenges that will determine the future of St. Lucia's food security and nutrition, rural development and modernization, poverty, the efficiency and safety of our local food systems, and the sustainability and resilience of rural livelihoods amidst the ever-changing global agriculture trade environment. And so another layer has been laid upon the achievements of previous years, and our vision is now set at 2020. This has been the Agriculture Ministry's Year End Review. I am Amanda Faye Clark. Thank you for watching.